Well, good morning. My name's Andrew Howe Davis. I'm a proud owner of these two vehicles, both Peugeots. Peugeot Model 172, 1923. It's a little tiny little engine, 667 cc's. Very much the farmer's, the worker's man car of the period. Hugely popular in France. And was used by virtually every farm and every town to get around, and they could change the backs of them. So it's certainly not a fast car, but it's a good car, and it's reliable. Just recently, I'm very lucky in the Vintage Sports Car Club to have a slow car race, and this is very eligible for the slow car race. Maximum speed about 40 miles an hour, uphill about 1, and it's it's a case of minutes to get to 40 miles an hour. But I've extended the body of it. It was a derelict wreck when I got it. It came from a farmyard in France. Typical French thing, completely worn out. Every nut and bolt hanging off. So we took the body off, discovered all the rust, repaired the rust, cleaned all the chassis, put new bearings in it and put it back together. And there was so much patina on the metal that in the end we decided it was so much work to make it look like a pretty car, there was no point. And I loved the character of it as it was, so I just varnished the steel. And everybody loves it because it's all the brazing and repairs and damage to it. Well, it's very sweet and it's completely waterproof. Once the hood goes up, even though there's no sides, you just don't get wet in it. It's fantastic. It's got strange configuration because it's got wire wheels at the front and disc wheels at the back. The wire wheels are the earlier wheel, which was built up to 1922. 23 was the last year. And this is a 24 axle when they changed to the Michelin disc wheels. And and then over next door to it, I'm lucky enough to have this bike that I bought at a Paris auction about 15 years ago. I would never have bought it if I'd known the exchange rate, because I actually thought it was cheaper than it was, but I didn't realise it wasn't until I got home that I realised it was £1,000 more than I thought it was. But the way the world has changed and moved on, it's an absolute bargain, so I'm delighted I've ended up with it by default. It's an early racer or a pace bike. You can tell that, but the saddle's been hooked back, so you sit way back. It's belt drive, there's no gears, and it's a push and run, there's no clutch, and there's very little in the way of brakes. So big feet and rubber shoes are the order of the day. It's extremely quick. It's a 1904. A 1904 bike. It's a 500cc, and it will do 60 miles an hour. It's quite extraordinary. It's got a very interesting front axle with it. This is a thing called a simplex accessory for racing bikes. This isn't the standard. The original Peugeots had a trofeo fork, which was a very double action scissor type thing. This is interesting because it's got suspension that goes up and down here, so it takes out the travel. It's an extremely comfortable bike to ride. And this year I've had it quite a while, and I've never had the confidence or the willpower to go and do the Pioneer Run, but last year I did it, and it made it all the way down there, despite the fact the pulley fell off. We found that in somebody's garden, so it was a great result. But it's a beautiful bike. It starts quite easily, but it's staggeringly quick. It's ideal around Montlhéry and great fun.